like to call to order the Bloomfield Hills Board of Education study session for November 9th. To order. Trustee Van Gimmerick, can you take attendance?
All board members are present.
Thank you, Secretary Van Gimmerick. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item number 2A, public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. It is not a time for dialogue. In the interest of time, the Open Meetings Act provides the board may place time limits on the allotments for any individual comment. In addition to making public comment, you may also email the Board of Education at any time. Any comment that contains profanity, threats, defamatory remarks, or is directed at any person and they're employed who is not employed by the district, or a member of the Board of Education in their official capacity and related to the role and responsibilities for which they are employed or service, or otherwise exempt from the Board First Amendment protection, it will be excluded from public comment. If you're speaking on behalf of an organization or group, please identify who you represent. Thank you for your time and addressing the Board of Education, and you will have 3 minutes to respond. Trustee Hill, can you take time for us again? Thank you. Howard Barron.
Podium here. Good evening. I'm here to speak about the agenda item that was on the board agenda for this evening about Bloomfield Hills Foundation collaboration discussion. That's been, I just found out today that that's been deferred sometime to 2024. So I'll make this public comment now, and I'll probably come back again when you actually have it on the agenda. For the 4 of you who were not on the board last year, you might remember, or the 4 of you who were on the board last year, you might remember that I was the board member who asked that this discussion be placed on the agenda. I'm so glad we're finally sort of here. As far as I can remember, this is the first time since the foundation restarted in 2013 that the 2 boards have been scheduled to meet together to discuss aligning the needs identified by this board with the mission outlined by the foundation. The mission of the foundation is to, quote, support BHS in providing exceptional opportunities and experiences for our students and to enhance the educational and other long-term strategic efforts for the district by engaging with our community to fund programs, initiatives, and materials that are not funded or funded only in part by the district's budget. The vision for Bloomfield Hills Schools says that our district will empower every student to achieve goals through a system that is inclusive and equitable for all. As expressed in the district's vision, the lens that this board and this school district has used to provide a focus of its goals has been on equity, providing the resource to students and families that cannot afford to take advantage of the opportunities that other students and families take for granted. One of the precepts of equity is that all students should be provided with the same chance to succeed no matter their family's economic situation. This is where I believe the foundation can assist the district in 2 significant ways. First, the parents of many district students pay for tutors to supplement the education that our children receive in the classroom. But private tutors are expensive, costing families thousands of dollars each year. The foundation could establish a program to subsidize the cost of tutoring for students and their families who cannot afford these high costs. Second, the parents of many district students pay for private instrumental and voice lessons to supplement the education their students receive in our music programs. But again, private tutors are expensive, costing families thousands of dollars each year. The foundation could establish a program to subsidize the cost of private music lessons for students and their families who cannot afford these costs.
That's 3 minutes.
Last paragraph, one more sentence. As you,
Excuse me?
Several more sentences.
Okay.
one sentence, sir, please.
All right. We cut
Thank you
people
very
off at other meetings.
As you start these bilateral conversations, I hope that both boards will consider these equity-focused ideas that all of the district students can pursue their passions and reach their unique potential. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Slightly late.
We do let people close their comments out, so.
Sana.
Sana, I remember.
Hi, I'm Sana.
Want to set precedent.
I have some concerns, so that's why I wanted to talk to you. So, Madam, sirs, when we moved to Michigan, my husband and I agreed that when it comes to compromises, we'll compromise everything except our daughter's education. So we literally Googled, we were new to the country, just Googled best schools in Michigan. And Bloomfield schools came at the top. And now when I'm Googling Bloomfield schools, I can see that there are some students were walking out in protest of racist incidents. I read about a principal who was put on leave before resigning, and a superintendent whose contract was terminated, all because of a school assembly. I read about some students who were interrogated after a walkout in support of political cause, and this is worrying me. So my question to you and to the school's administrators, especially at the high school, is the following. Are we running the school as a public entity, or are we letting some angry and overprotective parents to run the show? I'm sorry, it seems like an angry, but I'm not angry. I'm just wondering. So education for me, especially at the high school level, is not about teaching literature, math, physics, biology. Education is mostly about helping students using their reasoning and critical thinking to solve problems and to make informed decisions. So the information is not in closed books anymore on the shelves, it's everywhere. So is misinformation. So that's why the best way to discuss controversial subjects is at the school settings. That's my opinion, at least. So schools should not apologize for making bold moves that offer students opportunity to grow through discussions and debates over subjects that are not entertained at home. Subjects such as religion, politics, race, these are very controversial, but they should be open to discussion, even if some parents think they are taboo. In a school, we should listen to if a school should listen to every parent's opinion, we would not have a curriculum. We would eliminate some books, we would eliminate some chapters of literature, arts, civics, philosophy, biology, reproductive health. We would fire passionate teachers, bold administrators, and school life would be lame and dull. Please consider what I'm talking about at the high school, because this is not acceptable. What's happening last year, it's not acceptable. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Shannon.
Have a good day too.
You too. Moving on to item number 3, 3A, Superintendent Update. Dr. Liepa?
Yes, thank you. And I've got a handful of things to update the board on. First of all, to the community, thank you so much for your support for the sinking fund ballot proposal yesterday, or actually Tuesday. Hard to believe it's been 2 days now, but the sinking fund proposal that we had, a renewal that will generate about $3.5 million per year to put into our facilities, passed at a 68% yes rate, which is a very nice, overwhelming percentage of people that wanted to continue to support keeping our facilities in good shape for our students. And so just want to say thank you for all of those that came out and shared their opinions on this proposal, and want to certainly recognize the investment that this community continues to make in its schools and certainly the trust that they have given us, the Board of Education, in regards to our responsibilities to be stewards for these funds. So it was a very exciting day for us. Actually, Wednesday morning, by the time we find out, I don't know how close everybody was following, but it was, I think, a little after midnight when they finally put up the final results. And just want to thank the community for supporting our children again. A couple other items. Last Saturday, we had another community open house, this time at North Middle Schools. Again, we had separate community open houses, so anybody in the community, not just parents and students, could come and tour our new renovated middle schools. And we just had another excellent turnout. We had approximately 100 students, or I shouldn't say students, but potential former students, community members, neighbors came by and had a chance to tour the school. And so that was a really, really nice turnout, and we were excited, again, to be able to showcase and show off the remarkable facilities, our new middle school facilities. An activity, actually, I just learned about today at the high school, which I thought was just so neat. I wanted to share with the Board of Education that this just recently occurred this past week. At the high school, they actually started implemented this year a communications camp. And this was an opportunity for students, primarily 10th and 11th graders, some 12th graders, but really from all sort of corners of the school. People, a lot of kids that really don't interact with each other based on their activities, what they're involved with in school, who their friends are. They identified these students that were really from all different areas of the school, and they went away for a 3-day communications retreat. And the response from the students and the parents literally was overwhelmingly positive, to the point where these students, who literally were pretty anxious when they went, what is this going to be all about, what's going to happen, they were using words like life-altering events that they'd experienced. The feedback from the parents after the students got back was overwhelmingly positive. And so just wanted to recognize Jason North, who put this together at the high school, along with Juliana Umberger, who helped to facilitate this. We're going to actually share with the board at some point in time in the future the testimonials from the students. But it's pretty emotional, actually, to hear it. So just an excellent activity at Bloomfield Hills High School. Announcement, and I think Paul beat me to the punch on this a little bit, but the Bloomfield Athletic Boosters are going to be having their major fundraiser, the Jack Jams, coming up. That is tomorrow evening, November 9th, or the 10th, I should say. And so if you're interested in finding out more information about that, you can go to the Bloomfield School District website. Just go to search, type in boosters, and it has the information about that particular fundraising event for the athletic boosters, along with an online auction. Also want to highlight just last a follow-up again with the work that we're doing at the high school, really following the recent protests that occurred. I just want to commend the administrative team, who have made literally tens and tens and tens of phone calls, personal phone calls to parents who had reached out to them to be able to talk to them about what occurred and what we're doing moving ahead. Just a remarkable job in regards to building relationships at the school by our school administrative team over there, and certainly want to recognize their work. That's now starting to slow down, and so the conversation at the high school is, okay, well, what can we still do moving forward as we're looking at building relationships and culture within the school? And so they're going to be in the process, they are in the process right now of planning on learning and growth opportunities as it relates to both the staff and the students at the high school, working on how we can identify ways to both respect and unify the school, and make sure that, again, we're living by our mantra, which is a safe and welcoming environment for all schools. So they're in the midst of planning that right now with leaders in their student body. And I also want to just take a second to thank the community partners, people in our community who have actually stepped up and said, what can we do to support you as you're doing this work at the high school? And we're taking people up on that opportunity and offer of support with resources and help. By and large, when you go into the high schools, our high school, you'd be pretty darn impressed with what's happening on a daily basis walking the hallways there. But know that we're always about doing better and being better, and so that's sort of the next step with the work at the high school, working directly with their students and their staff. So again, just want to recognize the staff over there and what they're doing on a regular basis. And with that, President, I'm all set with my report.
Thank you so much. So moving on to item number 3B, the only thing you did not highlight, which I want to add to your highlight about what's happening in the school, is the Matilda play.
Yes,
So
it's coming.
It is coming, and we won't have a meeting between now and then. So
Or actually, our next meeting is their opening night, but,
I
right?
think you're right, the 16th to the 18th,
The
right?
16th through the
So if we
18th.
want to, right, we can just have the meeting there.
I would actually.
I don't know if that would be like what they would enjoy.
Yeah, we could.
Board meeting sometimes is a play, right? It could be the pre-warm opening act.
Opening action.
Comedy or tragedy?
A little bit of both.
I think it's romance. I don't know what you're talking about. Rom-com, Well, yes, so that's exciting. I'm
It
looking
is.
forward to, and we normally get an email about it every year, so if you haven't already, there's a sign out front. You can scan the QR code and get your tickets as soon as possible, and it's also on our community page. Lots of events on the community page and website as well. So I want to add to your other comment about the thanking our public for their vote of confidence in the board and work that we're doing and voting yes on our proposal for the sinking fund. But also want to thank the folks around this table that did so much work and endless amount of time that went into making sure that the community was aware of why this was an important fact, right? And so I want to also thank our people in the room, Rebecca and Dr. Liepa, and all of the executive committee that rallied around that, and also Karen, who isn't here today, which a lot of the work went into a lot of our communication that had to go out to our districts. And so thank you for that. And also our PTOC and our trustee Paul, who was out there at the PTOC meetings supporting and rallying behind the cause as well as all of our trustees who were engaging in conversations with our community about why this was important. So thank you all, because of you and our community trust us. So with that being said, we will be meeting again as a committee to find next steps for hiring our next superintendent. So we're super excited that in January that we will have another interim. And that Dr. Liepa will be staying on in a mentoring role. So we are super stoked about that. He's been doing a phenomenal job connecting with our district and connecting with our leadership. So we appreciate you in that capacity. So thank you. Moving on to item number 3C. Peace Daily Resistance. Our liaison updates, because there's so much work that we are doing as a board. And so we're going to start with one of our newer committees, which is our community partnership. So as we talk about our relationship with our communities, we're going to move to our community partnership committee. So, Trustee Fala.
Sure.
Trustee Poland.
Yeah, so we're just gonna say it, right? We're happy to report that we had an overwhelming amount of interest. Lots and lots of people. It felt like it was kind of slow, and then all of a sudden there were a lot of applicants, and I think people started spreading the word, and that was great. So, looking through the applicants, initially we thought, all right, maybe we can try to come up with a way to pick people, but every single applicant that we looked at, there were great reasons why you would want to have that person involved in a conversation, what skills they bring to the table. So we decided to include everybody, to have that whole group that's applied essentially be pushed through and allow everybody to participate. And the good thing about that too is that allows sometimes if we have people that can't make a meeting, or if we're working on a certain goal that this group comes up with, we won't struggle if it's during the holidays or if people have things going on. So we're excited for that. We'll be sending out notification to everybody tomorrow, along with some more information about what the next steps are. We need to finalize when and where, and we'll have our first meeting, and we'll try to get some feedback from everybody to try to isolate a day and time that kind of works best for everybody as much as possible. Paul, other things you want to comment on with that?
No, I think you covered most of it. Thank you to everyone who applied. Like you said, it was initially, we had a few applicants, but we got an overwhelming response. And everyone who filled it out very thoroughly in terms of why, what they can contribute. So we have a very diverse group that's going to contribute a lot. So we're looking forward. So an email will go out tomorrow, and then we'll have sort of a poll in terms of trying to get a first meeting set sometime in December.
Awesome. I've already been hearing a lot of buzz about the excitement for folks, so.
Good buzz, bad buzz.
I mean, this is what people ask for. You know, I always get feedback from people like, I want to talk about something, but if you come, just like the two people that came tonight, like you get 3 minutes and it's one way, and it feels kind of like you're talking to a brick wall sometimes. I mean, I did it when I was running last year. I came and talked to some of you guys, and it was like weird. So we want to have the ability for people to talk and communicate, and then also work on things together. Normally we can't do that in groups larger than 3. So this is a good, positive way for us to have that interaction, to do something. I'm excited for it. I think everybody I've talked to is looking forward to it. So we'll have more information once we get the date set, how we'll be structuring everything, and we'll provide more feedback. But look for that to come out soon.
Thank you all for that, and great website, so thank you, Karen, for that too.
Yeah.
Good content. All right, so Board Policy Committee, Trustee Noble, also includes Trustee Hill and Trustee Coleman.
Yeah, I just have a few things I'd like to share. First, the Board Policy Committee, made up of Trustee Hill and Coleman, and I have been tasked with reviewing its current Board of Education Policy 2005 on communication closed forum to assure we are providing the school environment that is safe and disruption-free, with the goal of having staff and students focusing on their primary mission, which is education for our students. So we have asked our legal counsel to review our policies for addressing disruptions that occur on the school property, whether coming from staff, students, or the community, while also ensuring that we are following our responsibilities under the law. So we have also we're evaluating our policies as we have an ongoing responsibility to improve our school system to support our students. And so we certainly support everyone's right to their own voice and free speech. And we are cognizant of the role in helping our students become active and engaged citizens, like we all are, having run for school board. While that understanding is apparent, we are also very aware of our top priority, which is to ensure the safety of each and every student which enters through our doors. So as an overarching goal, we must ensure that students feel safe when on our campuses, no matter what are our individual beliefs, and we shall share a common mission of providing a safe and supportive learning environment. So as such, we will be reporting back at a future meeting our work as we continue to follow through on our responsibilities as policymakers. So that's number one. Number two, we are also letting the school community know that there is a progress on a new administrative regulation, 7010 AR, on guest speakers. And we will be implementing this at a future date. We've got some feedback from board members, and further information will be forthcoming at a later date as well, but we're close to getting that figured out and pushed through. So all good news there.
All right. Great, so moving on to PTOC. Paul, do you want to give it?
Yeah, so I attended the last PTOC meeting. Me and Sid were our liaisons to that, so we'll be alternating. But the last PTOC meeting, we talked about a couple things. There was 3 things particular that I gave an update on. One was sinking fund, getting support, making sure you get the word out. So that obviously was very successful. Second thing was just focusing on the bond. So a lot of the, not concerns, but questions were around what's going to be done from now and on. And then when it comes to disruption within the classroom, just making sure that our website, or at least at PTO meetings, that the principals, the administration of the buildings are aware of what's going to be happening between now and the next couple of years, especially when it revolves around disruption in the classroom. Third thing, which the policy committee addressed, was we talked about from a board perspective, what are we doing to focus on safety, education of our students. So I talked about that we're going to look at our current policy and make it more clearer that our primary mission is education and learning and focusing on safety of our students, which the reception in the room was very positive on that. So those were the three things that I gave as a board update. I know Randy and his team gave an update regarding some other things that impacted the BTOC, but it was a very productive meeting overall.
Thank you. You want to keep going to the Intern Program Committee, which is Trustee Colin is the chair, and Trustee Fowler and Trustee Hill.
Yeah, so we're making significant progress this year with our interns and advisory council members. Three of us, myself, Trustee Hill, Trustee Fowler, met, decided on a game plan. If you recall, my last update is they had 5 goals they wanted to focus on. 3 of us, in conjunction with administration, discussed what can we do to make things obtainable this year. So we focused on 3 of them, and the 3 are, 1, improving additional academic opportunities. 2, implementing Spirit Week, like connecting our middle school and our high school, Blackhawks, what can we do in terms of community? And 3rd, and the other one was getting more people, again, mostly community items, 2 community items and 1 academic, getting more people involved in sports again, connecting elementary, middle school, and high school. So the next step is that they're gonna form committees for these 3 goals. We're gonna break out the 4 of us, meaning Randy, myself, and the 2 board members. Then we're going to tackle these, and the next step is Randy's going to work with mostly athletics and administration, sort of do an inventory of what we have, and then see come probably either late December or early January, get together again and start tackling so we could focus on these 3 areas.
Awesome. Sounds good. Super excited for that. All right, keep it moving. Going back to Bowers Academy, Trustee Noble.
Yeah, Director Alan Jaros will be sharing his Bowers School Farm Master Plan that's coming up next week. November 14th is at the Johnson Nature Center, and then November 15th is at Bowers School Farm. Everyone's invited to join and share feedback about the master plan, but also contribute if they're interested in supporting it or giving him some feedback. So hopefully we'll get a good showing, and I'll be there on the 14th.
So I'm sorry, maybe I missed. So the 14th and 15th, it's like at 7:30. That's like a presentation to the community.
Yeah, just about Bowers School Farm though, not about Johnson Nature Center. It's all regarding Bowers School Farm's master plan.
So it was the 14th and the 15th, 2 separate about Bowers.
Yeah, just to give people choices. Because
Okay.
one is going to be at the Johnson Nature Center on the 14th. The 15th is at Bowers School Farm.
Is it at 7:30?
I think it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah. Will you be joining us?
Maybe. I don't know. Is it? I mean, it's a good point. Is it going to be? And I don't want to put anyone out, David and team, but is it going to be videotape? Is it going to be a?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer
Like
to
if someone
that.
wanted to watch it, if some of us couldn't make those 2 dates.
So it's on the 14th at 6 p.m. is actually the Johnson Nation
Right.
Nature Center. The 15th at 6 o'clock is at Bowers Farm. This was in our bulletin that we received on the 8th of November, in case folks want to go back and find that email as far as the content if you're watching from home, but it's on the November 15th at 6 o'clock p.m. at Bowers Farm.
Yeah, and you can RSVP online if you go to either Johnson Nature Center or Bowers.
I don't know if you said, I missed that. Can you watch it? Is it live? You're saying it's not live stream, it's just 2 presentations, and then there's no availability on just, not saying both, but one of them to videotape it. If people wanted to see what was going on.
It's only live. You have to show up.
That's correct.
But we hope people do, so so they can interact with him and ask him questions.
But the location is in 2 different places, just so people know they're not both at Bowers School Farm. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah, thanks.
And this is a question, is he gonna, because this is videotape, is he gonna present the same thing eventually at a board meeting?
We've already got the
Yeah,
master plan.
exactly. Yeah, I think this is going out just to get feedback from the community. It's part of the requirement of the grant.
Yeah.
Is we need to have community meetings to do that, so this will meet that requirement of the grant. But I think
Talking about the plan, like that's
Yeah,
important,
master
right?
plan,
The
I
master
believe.
plan.
yes.
I'm assuming it's gonna be presented eventually to the
Yeah,
board?
I can't remember if they actually will come back and have that approved, or if you've already
We
approved it.
already did this.
We already approved it,
done
yeah.
We approved it, but with a lot of,
Actually, I think this is for
like, that was
both of them.
approved in fairness, and I remember this, because I asked a lot of questions, for the grant, but it wasn't like final. There were a lot of
No, it's a
stipulations.
living, breathing document. So it's not like this is
Yeah.
how it's going to be and nothing can ever happen. But we have to have something, right, to actually apply and get the grant. So it tackled 2 things, which is we didn't have one since 2010. I don't know how far back it was.
Some updates ahead.
Yeah.
He presented twice.
He did, and yeah. So we're
Questions,
not.
will they come back one last time, I think is what you're asking, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what is the final plan that we could approve. I get it, we approved it to get the grant, but there were things in there that were stripped out, if you recall, and then there were things in there that we kind of questioned, but it was, I get it, living document, but once we do have a final plan, which I'm assuming this is what it's leading to, we should, as a board, right, we should look at it and then kind of discuss it.
Yeah, we can follow that.
I think the plan is to go out to have these discussions with the community, gather any feedback, make any necessary changes, probably discuss with the board, maybe give some preliminary versions, and then have a final, here's the presentation to the board seeking approval. So,
Yeah, but I'll follow up and then actually get some timelines on that too, like when it might come to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Any further question? All right. Moving on to our, anything else? Bond Oversight Committee, which is chaired by Trustee Kumar and Trustee Benjamin and Trustee Copeland.
Thank you, Michelle. So the subcommittee continues to meet with administration on a weekly basis. So open items from the bond, particularly at the middle schools, what they call the punch list of open items, mostly been completed, so they've caught up, and that should wrap up very soon. District is also reconciling a list of items on the bond which are originally planned versus what's been done so far. And they plan to have a report out to the subcommittee by early December, and the subcommittee will bring it back to the committee of the whole at the next meeting. And then at the next board meeting next week, PMC will provide a bond progress report to the community. They also plan to provide a recommendation on the transportation center, and then to feedback from parents and community at the PTOC meeting. They plan to outline what's planned for the 24 and 25 calendar years as part of the bond, going over what's planned for the summer and the rest of the year for both those years, and then lastly, review the bid back timeline. So that's what's on the agenda for November 16th for PMC. That's pretty much all I have to report.
Thank you.
Any questions?
All right. Seeing none, moving on to item number 3, D as in David, the November 16th regular agenda framework. So this is in our board packet, so we can pull up the agenda item so we can go through. so, one, of course, is standard, in section number 2, special recognition. We have the high school, yay, trustee, Noble recommended, and it was already on the slate, but, you know, it was happening, and then.
You read my mind. Or you're just so good at your job, I think.
Yes,
That's what it is.
yes. Rebecca's always on top of it, too.
Yeah.
So. And then the boys varsity tennis state championship, so amazing. Can't wait to recognize both groups of scholars and athletes on that day. We good with that section?
President, Dr. South, just, I forget, I know in a previous meeting, what was the difference between what we recognized previously in terms of the A-piece? No, that was,
It was
what
the-
was that? That was the merit.
That was
I mean,
the-
I know our kids get a lot of
National
awards.
merit.
National
National
merit,
merit.
and this is, okay.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
We just have so much excellence happening in our district.
Very bright student.
Yes. So next, item 3, administrative appointments. Dr. Liepa has included in here a great announcement for our assistant superintendent, which we will be appointing, should there be no objections. And
We
then,
need to get you that resume, correct? You have not seen the resume yet. I just want to make sure I double check that. So.
that's correct.
Yeah, it is loaded, so we can look, but I
Oh,
can
it is?
route it.
Oh, okay. Great.
Thanks, Rebecca. Public comment, which is standard, and then Dr. Liepa's update. And then if you can review the consent agenda, which is item number 6, A through F. If there's any question on any items in the consent agenda, give you a couple moments for that.
I don't know, do we have detail on F? Personnel action? Is that like an attachment that I can look at?
We typically get it,
Yeah,
right?
okay, ready, yeah.
You're so funny.
It's on there every time.
What?
Yeah, I look
You
at
just, yeah, it's always.
That's fine. Okay. No, I mean, I guess I'll look at that in detail, and if I have any questions and feel something needs to be moved to board business, then it'll be moved. Yeah.
Okay. You'll email us if,
I'll email you.
okay. All right, so I will make a note to follow back up with you on that because we would probably need to know if there's a concern in advance. Okay. All
Don't
right,
want to
so,
have any surprises in terms of hirings that, is in the consent agenda. Yeah.
Don't
Right.
think there will be.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but.
I
again,
think you get what I'm saying.
For 3 years, it's always in that same slot.
Yeah.
And we always have the opportunity to review it. Well, I don't know when it comes out, but probably.
I should have it by
It's a-
Monday,
That's fine.
on Monday or by Monday.
yeah, just hyperlink, just click it in.
I
like a list.
know where, I'll look at it.
All right, I'll follow up with you this week, Paul. Special report, which we just, Siva just highlighted for us, which will be our update for our bond quarterly report. For business, David.
Yeah, we're actually going to be moving that.
Okay.
That'll be going, it's going to be going with the bid pack 9, which will be a construction bid pack. And I think that currently is tentatively for January now.
Okay.
Or it might be that December 16th or December, the last
The
of that
last
board
meeting.
meeting. I just got to confirm that. But that's going to be all part of that big package.
Wait, so you're not doing bond quarterly report?
No. The bond
No, we are.
report will be on.
We're on
We're
8A.
talking about 8A.
Oh, sorry. I'm like,
KP
if we
bid
move to
award.
January, then it's.
Oh, yeah, different, totally different, totally different.
That'd be a shocker.
The only other item under I'm sorry, if you want to get through B and then I can add my comment.
Okay, are we done with 8A?
Yeah, I think so, unless there's any questions.
All right. Item number B, placeholder for amending the calendar. We talked about changing one of the board meetings, correct?
Yeah, depending on how the next agenda item goes, if you want to hold on to that so you can get to your next agenda item.
Do I have a second page? Oh.
your right hand on the back. Right hand on the back. E. Board workshop discussion.
Oh, the complete next agenda.
Yeah,
item.
exactly.
We're not done with D though, so they're kind of intertwining because D is,
8B, we haven't gotten
Right.
to.
Yeah.
so they kind of
Exactly.
intertwine.
Yeah.
But I do want to add under board business, a continued discussion from the policy committee. I realize it's only 1 week away. I do think that the board will have, the policy committee should have finality on the guest speaker policy. I don't know that we'll have finality on policy 2005, the open forum conversation. That might take a little bit longer than 1 week to turn around. But I don't see any reason, because I know that staff is eagerly awaiting that new guest speaker policy. So I think that 1 week would be realistic. Is that realistic, do you think, Carolyn?
Yeah. Keith needs to come back from vacation.
So I
and
think
then-
the only reason we didn't
Yep.
do it tonight is because Keith McDonald is the administrator in charge of overseeing that, and we wanted to have one final discussion with him about it. That's the only reason we didn't finalize it tonight. But I don't see any reason we can't finalize it at our next meeting next Thursday.
I received some feedback from 2 board members that they wanted some clarity on some items, so I wanted to give Keith some time to get that clarity to me.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
let's
why.
at least put it on the agenda
Okay,
so that we can potentially check that one off.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Is it-
we lose
is
the
it an
placeholder
actual
to take it out.
policy,
We don't-
though?
we're not-
Is it an actual board policy?
It's not, but it falls under our subcommittee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be a report on
A
that.
board, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the request is to add 8C.
Okay, I got it.
All right. And then everything else is fine with that. All right. No more questions on letter D, so David. Moving on to item E, board workshop discussion. You had a question, Trustee?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was added for our agenda for the 16th, which I think we just covered, so I think we're all set.
Oh.
So now I think we're complete with tonight's agenda, item D, and can move on to E.
Oh, yes, I was asking, did you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the board workshop discussion,
Is there details in here?
Liepa, we got to have that conversation for you now. So as we close out the year, some of the things we've kind of gotten away from are like where our board goals are,
I'm so sorry, I
transitioning.
haven't, just going back to the agenda, because maybe it's not.
We're on
gonna
the,
be
I'm on the
covered.
agenda.
The 16th agenda, are we past that?
Oh, we are, unless you had something you needed to
No, I
add.
had something, I was, so, and I see on the agenda, we're gonna add a finance, when are we getting, a budget update? Like, we used to periodically get budget updates. We realized at the beginning of the year, opening up the schools, so when are we?
Yeah, I would
I'm not
anticipate
saying
that
on the
being.
16th, but I wanna get a date in our calendar, because finances is
Right.
one of our purviews, so.
Yeah, yeah, I would anticipate that January would be the day we would come back with a budget revision. We've got the student count done now, and so now it's gonna be actually sitting down. And that would be typically, my understanding is that's typically the time they would come, is sometime December, January, February, they would come with a budget revision for you. We want to, of course, get the new person on and make sure that we've got all the budgeting pieces in place. That's why it wouldn't happen in December, so I would say January.
I do have it on our calendar as a placeholder for a budget forecast and update on January 11th. We were kind of waiting to find out about a start date for our new.
But that would be pretty typical, because I mean, we're just now getting the final fourth Friday account update. So that's always sort of the first, that's the big item, right? How many kids do we have? Is the foundation allowance what we thought the foundation allowance was? That's 90% of our revenue. So that particular piece gets in place, and then we actually then will go through and look at all the expenditures to see if the estimates that were done in the spring, when it was a budget, budget estimates, if they're actually holding true.
All right, so early January.
Yeah, I would
expecting
anticipate.
Our
yeah.
first budget update.
Yeah.
Anything else for the agenda for the 16th? Okay. So moving right along to item number 3E. So Dr. Liepa and I were having a conversation about closing out the term. and making sure that as a board that we're prepared for the next term and our incoming board, executive team, and also making sure that we've addressed any of our board goals. Typically, we would have a conversation about superintendent evaluations and things of that nature, so we wanted to try to make sure we close out the year on a good note, working together, and we thought it would be great to have that as a unit, so.
So on the 7th, so you're talking about the meeting on December 7th?
That is the workshop discussion, that's correct.
So one of my thoughts, and this was maybe just my idea, and I don't know if anyone is, I think we should consider going back to committee, because I think what I've experienced in working with Siva and John is the committee structure does work in terms of you have a small, you have times that people can meet, flexibility if people, need to come in and out. I think we should consider in that workshop going back to committee structure, and then maybe not, based on schedules, having these meetings every 2 weeks, having maybe one board meeting once a month, and then maybe updates like this, like we just had, which took an hour right before that meeting. That'll give us a day a month back, and then we can
Not really.
presumably, what?
Not really. Because you'll still have to do your committee meeting, so you wouldn't really get a day back.
But that could be Zoom and I'm just saying, right, physically having to be here. So I think that's something I'd like to
That's something you'd
discuss.
like on the agenda
I'd like
for
on
it.
the agenda
Okay.
for 7th.
We talked about that, and it is something that Dr. Liepa and I did discuss, because you and I had that conversation, and so it is something that we have discussed, looking at the committee as a whole structure in general for the meetings, so.
Also a reminder, those are public open meetings.
Right.
And so if we do all Zoom, that creates another layer that you're going to have to manage.
Not
I
if
think
it's
he's talking
committee.
about our subcommittee meetings.
Subcommittee.
And that's what I mean, those are open meetings.
Not if it's 3.
No, if it's 3 of us. Because we've been having continuous subcommittee meetings.
Okay, fair
All of
enough,
us. Like
fair enough.
Yeah.
yesterday, the policy committee.
So from what we were saying was, the structure before was that there were 2 or 3 board members that were on specific, like LSA. I just made you LSA.
That's okay. It was called the BIC board instruction.
Big, but
Yeah.
so academic, financial, if we wanted to, in this December 7th meeting, if there were 1 or 2 other things, but I'm just saying, break it out, your flexibility. My experience, and I've been through all of it, right? You get more done. This meeting not just opens up our time in terms of an extra day, but obviously you have administrators here. I'm just and I can give more perspective on the 7th meeting. I honestly think that going back to what we had before will be much more productive. No offense to this meeting, but it will be. And then just give updates and recommendations. At the meeting, could be like what it was, and this was like 6 years ago, is we'd have a board meeting, and we could begin it and end it at 7. Could have a board meeting, let's say started at 6:30, we can push that to 7. We can have an update, we called it, like a study session, from like 6 to 7, where we have, limited time to give updates, recommendations. It leads to a board meeting. You don't have a meeting every 2 weeks, you have a meeting once a month. And then the subcommittees, have a time where they can meet. Doesn't have to be every week, it could be every 2 weeks. When there's things on, the 3 of us meet, today, you did have a meeting. We could have not had a meeting, and it's much more productive.
We're already having all those subcommittee meetings.
Correct. We're doing it anyway, right?
We're all tied up in a lot of meetings outside these 2
You know.
But they're actually going to be additional subcommittee meetings. So, those are your liaison meetings, but these will be additional subcommittee meetings that you have.
To Megan's point, it's, it was policy. It was, we have bond that could turn into like finance.
Facilities and finance.
And then you could have, a learning, like an academic, right?
Instruction committee, finance, and policy.
Yeah, it was only 3 or 4. And then you just have that limited window for updates, recommendations, and that leads into a board meeting if you need to. And it gives you like to have a meeting every, I'm not saying we don't,
I'm not, I think this.
No, we could discuss it at the 7th.
It'll be a discussion on the 7th. I think we had a large conversation, you and I, about how that would work. And Dr. Liepa and I have been in conversation about that as an option, as well as the other things that we have also discussed. So,
Yeah, I think if everyone can do independent research between now and then, investigating there's a lot of different styles that I think a lot of different boards use, just try and do some research on what have been observed, best practices, and we can come to the meeting and talk about it then. But I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'd
So one
like
of the
time
things
to
I
like think about it, reach out to people, see what other people do. I think it's helpful to,
Yes.
They've
let
been
it-
at all, especially Todd and
Todd and
Dave.
David,
These meetings,
into both.
two nights a month, and potentially some of those meetings could take place during the workday. I mean, potentially not, but
Another item that I would, and I know that the goal right now is not to sort out our agenda for this, but on the subject of meeting frequency, I would like to have a real conversation about moving the night per week that we do this, because we have significant amounts of district events that happen on Thursday nights, especially it seems like in the spring, whether it's, orchestra concerts or like athletic events.
You want to go to the play next week, I get it.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's
I wanna go
also
on Friday.
It seems like Thursday is one of the busiest nights for all student activities. A lot of us are parents. I miss a lot of Thursday night. Not only for, my own personal reasons, but next Thursday night, I'd love to be able to go to that play. In the spring, all the important plays and events and things are happening typically on Thursday nights. So,
I would second that because Thursday, I have so much going on. There's usually events on Thursdays, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It could be nice to have a different day.
something to earmark for a further conversation, I think, would be worthwhile, so.
that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I guess that would just be my own opinion. I kind of like scatter my life around Thursday being the day.
Which is
that
something we should consider. Yeah,
that makes
we need to
sense,
consider that.
And that would are we talking about planning that schedule which gets adopted at the organizational meeting in January, which would be effective July 1? Is that what you're?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So it
For
would be
sure.
for the new.
No,
calendar year?
we've got a lot planned between now and then, yeah, just talking about next July.
Yep,
One
okay.
of the other things that came up in a minor conversation that we will also probably talk about is elections, how we would like to do it for this year, considering that we don't have board members that are coming off this year. So if we wanted to consider December as being a time for folks to run for their position and state their position, so come January, we'll have our new team in place as opposed to waiting to January. So the discussion that we'd like to possibly entertain for folks who are interested in an executive position. So those are things that we can also talk about.
It's a good point.
Anything else that you all would like for us to try to, Ms. Dr. Liepa, and I will submit to you all what the agenda would look like for the meeting that you'd like for us to consider?
So Michelle, what's the length of the meeting planned for December 7th?
I would say plan for at least 2 hours together.
Okay. Same time,
I would
start
say,
time?
can we start it at 6?
Yeah, what is the start time?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could
goodness,
start
let
it
me
at
see
6
if I can-
o'clock instead of 6:30.
Good idea.
I'll have to be here on time. I got here today a little before 6 and
Yeah.
I made it. There is hope.
Yeah.
I'll just speak up and say,
Please escort as soon as you get in the Bloomfield. Try to get you here. Couple minutes.
oh yeah, there you go.
You know the
Just
state
speed and get
police,
some
right? Can you
police,
tap into that?
Yeah, we can do television.
Workshops are a little bit more relaxed, so they'll be eating and stuff while you're.
Yeah. Which is, yeah.
Yeah. And if not, one of the other executive committee members, I think it's your turn next, Paul, can stand in until I get
Sorry,
here.
what was that?
I think you're up next
Up next for a while.
to lead the meeting until I get here.
Whatever, that's fine. I can lead the meeting.
So-
well, I personally, I'll change the subject and say that I would really like to maybe possibly talk about having a committee on our rankings. I know that sounds like, what's the point of rankings? Well, with rankings, you can focus on all the things that go into that ranking, which include the academics, the facilities, perception of value in our school district, which is reputation. And so I know a lot of people, there's a majority of people are taxpayers in our district and they don't use our public schools. That's why I think rankings are important. And if we get them high, I think it brings value. And that's one of the committees I would like to see. I don't know if anyone feels similar, but that's something I can bring to the table to improve the rankings in our district.
We can add that committees as one of the things to talk about.
I think that would fall, just my thought, based on past practices, that would fall into the academic committee, whether it was BIC relived, right? What does that stand for? Instructional committee? Board instructional committee? So that could fall within that.
We could change the name and do what we want since we're a new board too.
I would be listen, and I'm all for rankings. I'd be very hesitant to call a committee the rankings committee.
Oh, you think we would get some?
It does seem like a natural place to put it,
Yeah,
and we could have a bit more discussion about that, but I agree it's important. And
It's important. I just would be very hesitant for our community. You know, some people, I agree, a lot of people agree, but to call a committee the ranking committee would not sit well with some members of our
it could
community.
be one of the core objectives of the learning.
Yeah. Could
We
be a
can
core
finesse the
objective.
name
Yeah,
to the
I can see how.
continuous
the word-
I get the
improvement
spirit of what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
We definitely should consider all aspects.
ranking, I struggle a little bit, and that's because rankings matter as one factor to measure how we're doing holistically. But if we wanted to be number one, like, we could figure out a way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, we could say we're going to require every kid to take an AP test. We're going to make a study session for every, if you're in an
which we
AP
do now
order-
because of rankings.
What's that?
We do make them take the AP tests because of rankings.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, we now do, like, that's not true. You just don't get that extra credit if you don't take the test. Because it used to be you'd get, like, it was kind of like as an
Yeah.
honors course.
You're right.
But
It's not mandatory. It's
Correct. So
highly encouraged based on.
there are a number of things we could do. We could also add like an extra hour of just dedicated study time. My point is, it's important to look at some of these things, but to put a lens on that and focus on that, I would be hesitant just because of, I don't know if it's serving the interests of every kid's needs. Like if I'm a student and I'm trying to meet my objective of building a passion for mathematics or computer science, like putting myself inside of a classroom where I'm just focusing on how to get the best score possible for an ACT doesn't really get that objective. It allows me to get to an Ivy League school maybe that is important for some students, but that may not be true for every student. So I think it's good to look at. I think if we had a dashboard of like, here's all of our metrics, niche would be there, the AP College ranking would be there, but I wouldn't necessarily say that my desire would be to focus on how do we get from 20 to 1 every single year, because we've got thousands of students and that may not fit their bill of what success is to them.
But the idea of
I
looking
get
at
that.
what they look at as developing their rankings is not a bad idea, so.
Absolutely.
Somewhere in there.
Which, to Megan's point, could be an area within an academic committee,
Right.
however we want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we found out about the AP, and we saw our numbers, based on
Increased
what we did.
substantially.
Yeah, they went up, we jumped. And we opened up doors for students who may not have been able to take the test. We're pushing more, so I think it's a good thing to look at. But to your point, like, I would be careful about saying, this is the rankings committee, we're focusing on being number one.
Well, it's kind of crass, I think, in two
I'm
direct
sure you didn't
maybe.
come-
No, I just,
I get
I've
that.
come up with dumb things on the fly too. I'm not saying it was dumb.
I think there's some good aspects of
Hey,
it.
wait a minute.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying I've said things and then I'm like, well, I didn't really mean, whatever. I didn't mean dumb.
I guess how I think is that if you don't focus
what
on
I said.
something,
That
you
was
can't
dumb.
achieve the change that you're trying to obtain. So that's why I thought of rankings as a good place to start, because there's so many aspects that improve the school district.
Sure.
By looking at what they look at and how they gauge value in our school district.
get
So
it.
Michelle, you're
It's romantic comedy.
creating an agenda for
Tragedy and comedy.
December 7th. Are you taking feedback from each
Yes.
of us, sending it to you each directly on items like this that we'd like to add to the agenda for discussion.
That's correct.
That's good.
Okay,
Yeah, we can put a
Megan
little thing together.
cuts through the stuff.
I love the
that we're dealing
romance
with.
that was happening. See, I had to show you that there was romance that was
But
happening.
I like the ideas that everyone's throwing out.
Yes. All right. And then, so send us some of your suggestions. Dr. Liepa and I meet on Tuesdays, so preferably between now and next week Tuesday, if you've got some things you'd like to have added to the agenda. So maybe Monday evening, because we meet at 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesdays.
Is there like a general format to the agenda that you have kind of an outline for?
We haven't gotten that far. I've got some ideas, I'm sure Michelle's
We
got
have
some
time
ideas.
between now and.
Oh, yeah, you do. We want to
Yeah.
finesse this so we enjoy our time closing out the year together.
Tully, we'll all enjoy not having
Technically do
Thursdays.
that on the 21st.
The extra Thursday.
Also,
I got
pushing
time
that.
Scheduled on
Especially when you're
November
back here next
16th, so that'll be plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Oh, jeez.
When me and Megan want to go see the play.
And then the only other thing, I, myself, and Dr. Liepa are going to be taking a trip to the International Academy next week. Thursday, if anyone or two, no more than one or two of you. No, I'm just
You know
kidding.
what time?
3:11?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Probably a way.
Is there something special
Well,
going on?
yeah, what is
or
it?
No, no.
No, just taking a trip
Free
out
meal?
to.
What's going on? I'm just kidding.
No.
That would be
Just a
so
walk
funny. Just a walk through to the International Academy. So we want to be open so you know if you'd like to join us, you are more than welcome to join us as well.
I really wish I could attend, but I will not be able to.
All right.
But I think that facility does need some improvement. And that's part of the rankings, is the facilities. And they're now number 2, which they used to be number 1.
Speaking of rankings, right?
Yeah, speaking of rankings.
I'm gonna have Michelle have a GoPro on her head though, so if anybody wants.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna-
That is probably not going to happen, but sounds like fun.
That was an idea. Okay, we made that too.
All right. May not, but I think I got some volunteers at the end that had some good ideas.
What am I volunteering for? Oh,
All right.
GoPro at the
Anything
IA?
else for our agenda tonight? All right. So in the words of Megan, no, I'm only kidding.